On the eastern edge of downtown Los Angeles, there is a stretch of pavement that most people pretend doesn't exist. 50 square blocks of tents, tarps, and silence. The kind of silence that settles over a place where hope has been foreclosed on. Thousands of people sleep here every night, pressed against concrete, beneath overpasses, between dumpsters that smell like the city's guilty conscience. And somewhere inside this grid of forgotten lives, one man decided he was done sleeping on the ground. He had no money, no tools, no lumber, no landlord willing to return his call. What he had was cardboard and a plan. Nobody knows exactly when he started. There was no permit filed, no blueprint drawn on paper. But piece by piece, box by box, the structure began to take shape. Right there, on a sidewalk most people cross the street to avoid. He scavenged cardboard from behind grocery stores, appliance shops, and loading docks. He flattened some panels, folded others, layered them for thickness. Then he glued them, carefully, deliberately, the way a carpenter joins wood, the way a mason sets stone. From the outside, you might walk past it and see what everyone else sees: a pile of boxes, urban debris, another sad monument to a broken system. But if you stopped, if you actually looked, you would notice the edges were too clean, the corners were too square, the structure was too intentional. Because this wasn't wreckage, this was architecture. Step inside and the outside world disappears. The walls are reinforced, multiple layers of cardboard pressed together for insulation, keeping the cold out and whatever small warmth exists in. The ceiling is low but measured, shaped to feel enclosed without feeling crushed. There is a logic to every surface, as though the man understood something instinctive about how a room should hold a person. The sleeping area sits against the far wall. A basic mattress, thin, likely salvaged, rests on the floor. It's not luxurious. It was never meant to be. But it is off the ground. It is enclosed. It is his. And after enough nights spent exposed to the noise, the cold, and the vulnerability of open pavement, a quiet room with a door you can close is not a small thing. It is everything. But here is where the story shifts from survival into something harder to explain. He didn't stop at shelter. He kept building. In a separate section of the hut, he constructed a lounge, a place to simply sit, not to sleep, not to hide, but to exist with some small measure of comfort. He fashioned a sofa frame from cardboard boxes and filled them with sandbags for weight and structure. Old cushions, found, donated, rescued from a curb somewhere, were placed on top. And suddenly, this was not a box on a sidewalk. This was a living room. A man with nothing had created a space with rooms, with purpose, with personality. There is something almost unbearable about that. The idea that someone society had essentially discarded looked at his situation and said, "No, I will not just survive this, I will live in it." It would be easy to turn this into a feel-good moment, to smile at the ingenuity, hit the like button, and scroll to the next video. But sit with it for a second longer. This man did not have access to the things most of us take for granted: a lease, a lock, 4 walls that don't dissolve in the rain. And yet he built something that many people with every resource available never managed to build: a sense of home. Not the structure, the feeling, the decision that you are not defined by what surrounds you, but by what you create within it. That dignity is not something the world gives you, it is something you construct, with your hands, with your choices, with whatever the sidewalk offers up. Every cushion he placed was a sentence in a quiet argument against despair. Every wall he reinforced was a boundary drawn between himself and surrender. We don't know his name. We may never learn it. He is one of tens of thousands on Skid Row, and his cardboard home, as carefully made as it is, could be swept away tomorrow by a city cleanup crew, a rainstorm, or a single act of cruelty. That is the brutal truth this story doesn't get to escape. But what remains, what cannot be swept, is the proof of what he built. Not the hut itself, but the idea behind it, that a human being, pushed to the margins of everything, still chose to create order, still chose to make something beautiful in a place designed to make people invisible. Most of us build our lives with every advantage, and still complain the walls are closing in. This man had no walls at all, so he made his own. If this story made you rethink what home really means, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below. What is the one thing in your own space that makes it truly feel like yours? Stories like this prove that human dignity is built, not bought. If this moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.